Well, thank you very much, Ambassador Bellamy. It's a good day to be back in Washington, though I have to tell you I prefer days in Africa to days in Washington, D.C. I do like to come back here, though, because I have a granddaughter who lives in Washington, D.C. She's about 1.5 years old. So she and I had dinner last night, and that's a nice thing for a grandfather to be able to do. First of all, let me thank the Africa Center for Strategic Studies for organizing this seminar. Ambassador Bellamy, under your leadership and with the great staff and that is at the center, have collected not only a great group of partners and participants, but also crafted a very meaningful and productive agenda for this conference. And I know you have had a very, very successful first week. There is some danger at being the first speaker of the second week, because you have had now the opportunity to hear from a number of distinguished speakers and panelists. You have had time to develop your thoughts and your questions. And so I am expecting that we'll have a very substantive dialogue when we get into the question and answer portion of this. But I very much look forward to that, and will preserve time for those questions and hopefully some worthwhile answers. I also know that last week you had the opportunity to meet with the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense, Amanda Dory, and with Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Johnny Carson. And I know the two of them spoke at length about the newly published Presidential Policy Directive for Sub-Saharan Africa, a very, very important and meaningful document which will guide my government's actions in Africa for many years to come. Because you have had that opportunity to discuss the Presidential Policy Directive with them, with your permission, I won't spend a lot of time talking about that particular document, but would rather choose to focus more specifically on the U.S. military activities and engagement in our roles across Africa. So we'll seek to do that. And in doing so, I'll refer to yet another document, a document that was released in January of this year, January 2012, and it's called the Strategic Guidance for the 21st Century. It was a document approved by President Obama, developed by Secretary of Defense Panetta and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dempsey, that outlines the global defense strategic guidance which will guide the U.S. military well into the future. The specific purpose of that document was to frame the critical tasks that the United States military will be called upon to accomplish over the next several years. It's an interesting document to read, and I would recommend it to you. I got asked a lot of questions as that document was released, and I should be, just to be very open and truthful with you, those of us who serve as the United States calls us, combatant commanders, addressing the 6 different regions of the globe, but also our service chiefs of staff, we all had plenty of opportunity to inject our thoughts and our ideas, and we were very much participants in the process that developed that document. So why did I get asked a lot of questions? Well, when you read the document, you will find that the word Africa appears precisely once, one time. And so some question that says, well, does that mean that the United States military does not really think very seriously or is not very committed to African security matters? And my response to that is no, our view actually is quite different. It is true that from a regional standpoint, the emphasis is for the United States military is in the Pacific and in the Middle East. But when you look at the list of tasks that are assigned to the Department of Defense, the tasks which my nation expects our military to accomplish, you will find some very consistent and very relevant priorities for those of us who operate with our African partners. These include countering violent extremist organizations, transnational threats, illicit trafficking, countering piracy. The phrase we use, building partner capacity, I think it's better to say enabling the capacity of other states to be able to provide not only for their own security, but to contribute more effectively to regional security as well. Developing nations' capabilities to deal with humanitarian assistance and disaster relief materials and contributing to regional security. All of those tasks are outlined in this document, and all of those tasks are the tasks that United States AFRICOM focuses on with you. So with that, rather than talk about the Presidential Policy Directive, let me talk about three broad areas and then look forward to your questions. The first is, I think you've had plenty of discussion of why does the United States, from a policy standpoint, why does the United States seek to be engaged in Africa? And these obviously range from political and diplomatic and economic matters as well, but we'll focus in a little bit more on the security aspects of that, which is what falls into AFRICOM's area of operation. So that'd be the first thing. Why is it? What are the activities that we're engaged in, and why? Secondly, I think importantly, a brief discussion of what can we do for you? What do we offer to you that may be of assistance, and how do you access that? How do you, if there is something that you would like some American help with in the military realm, how do you do that? And then thirdly, if you'll allow me to address some of these persistent ideas that that one often reads or hears about in the media about perceptions of Africa Command on the continent, and so we'll talk about those things as well. So with your permission, those three topics are what I'll focus